Christmas Eve is here. It's Thursday, the 24th of December, and this is our penultimate Advent reading for this year. So today, we're still in Matthew chapter 2, but we're going to read verses 7 to 8 and then verses 16 to 18. And this passage is called Jesus Came to Win. Now, our door on the Advent calendar today is the last small one because the one for tomorrow is pretty big. So let me see what's behind door number 24. We have the letter A, and then we have Matthew 2, verse 11, and it says this: They gave him treasures of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Last week, Steph and I sat down one night and we thought, let's watch a Christmas movie. So we decided to watch the animated version of The Grinch. And if you don't know the story of The Grinch, basically, The Grinch is a person who really doesn't like Christmas. And in our passage today, well, we read about someone else that isn't too happy about that first Christmas in Bethlehem. Herod, the king, was not a big fan of Christmas. You see, Herod was afraid of Jesus. Herod was king and he liked being king. He liked being in charge. He liked ruling his little kingdom. And so when he heard about this new king that had been born, well, he was worried. He didn't want someone else to come and take charge. He wanted to do things his own way. So Herod, instead of giving his life to this true king, instead of following Jesus, decided that he wanted to try and get rid of Jesus. And so he did something absolutely terrible. Herod made a rule that any baby boy who had been born under the age of 2 was to be killed. He was trying to make sure that he could continue just to do things his way and to be in charge. The serpent will whisper to us and he'd say things like, how could God let something this bad happen? If this kind of stuff's going on, well, surely God doesn't really exist. But that's why we need to remember what happened back in the Garden of Eden. You see, way back at the beginning of the Bible, that's whenever things went wrong. When sin came into the world, everything that was good became broken. And sin came into the world because the serpent lied and deceived Adam and Eve, and they believed him. Sin came and it broke God's perfect world. And that means that it broke us as well. We're all born with brokenness, with sin in our hearts. And that's what we see with King Herod here in today's passage. The terrible thing that he was doing was because of the sin in his life. But there's hope to be found because over and over again in the Bible, we are told that God intends good things to come from the bad things that happen. If we don't believe that, well, we just need to look at the cross of Jesus. Jesus, the perfectly sinless one who had done nothing wrong, was killed on the cross, a criminal's death. This is a terrible thing that has happened, but from that terrible thing, well, great things have come. Because as Jesus died on the cross, he made a way for us to be friends with God again. Christmas tells us that Jesus came to win over sin and death. When Jesus died on the cross, well, the serpent must have thought that he'd won. But Jesus rose to life. He crushed the serpent. And Herod and all of God's enemies will one day stand before God's judgment throne. Jesus came to right every wrong.